So, here we are for part 2. The hell are we doing? Oh yeah, we're screwed. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out a way of making this body work without cutting it all apart and completely rebuilding it, which kind of defeats the purpose of getting a new body. So, let's pick it up there. Alright, back on this thing. So, step 1 is going to be get these doors to fit, and then figure out what's going on with this windshield, get that squared away. So I'm going to start off, get these holes opened up, because yeah, this is a mess. Get the holes opened up, get the doors where they need to be, and then start figuring this out. Start with the ugliest job and then work our way to the next ugliest job, which is going to be that frickin' thing. But for now, start at the front. There we go, all stripped back down again. But here's our problem right here. This, it's too flat, needs to be bent down more, which will kick this back, and then the windshield should theoretically fit. But as you can see, that's, yeah, it's like 1/8 plate these things are made out of. So haven't quite figured that part out yet, so while I'm doing that, I'm going to drill some holes where the hinges go. There. I'm going to drill those out. So I got the holes opened up, went right to the edge, but as it turns out, we needed all of it and could have used a little bit more. The door lines up, but that edge could go up just a little bit more, but it's roughly where it needs to be, and opens and closes without rubbing, so that's the door. So this is kind of what I'm thinking for up here. Take a 2x4, clamp it in here, go right to the edge, both sides. Clamp it this way, and then clamp it this way. And take the torch, heat that edge up, because this whole thing, this has to go down, but we got to keep it straight at the same time. And yeah, put the heat to it, clamp it good, should work. Even if it doesn't, who cares? I mean, this body's junk, so can't really screw this up. What I did here, I measured from this line down to that corner where the tape is. Got a measurement, did that both sides. And I'm thinking if we move this back 1/2 inch, because this just needs to get out of the way. Doesn't really do anything except this is where the top of the dash mounts. So exactly where this is doesn't matter a whole lot. So yeah, try that, see what happens. Oh. Plan A is a loser. I didn't really think that was going to work, but yeah, just can't get enough bite on it. And pipe wrench, a little too short, so oh well, it was worth a shot. So now, plan B, get a little more serious. Chunk of angle iron, and then we'll take a piece of pipe, weld it to it, get a little more leverage, clamp it down real tight, and try that, see how that works. Well, that's pulled back 1/2 inch. Let's take this all apart and see where we're at. It's fitting a bit better. This gap was starting to close up. That's looking a bit better. Yeah, it's doing what it needs to do. This looks like another 1/2 inch. Try that. Yeah, take another shot at it. Well, took a couple tries, but got it fitting. Gap is still huge up there, but that's more the way that's supposed to look. Yeah, that came back, ended up 1.25 inches to get that to fit. Yeah, looks pretty good. So next step, we'll get that door stripped, stick it on there, and keep working our way back. So that's the door fit on, just rough, but lines up not too bad. The weather strip I'm not worrying about right now, but Next step is just get everything bolted together, and then we'll see how that all fits together. That next piece of the puzzle is this thing. I have to go and get all this crap cleaned off, pull all this out, and then figure out how that aluminum back door thing fits. Yeah, that's next project. So I got rid of the last guy's creation. Came off pretty good because it wasn't held on very well. But trying to fit this thing, yeah, it fits about as good as everything else on this project. It looks like there's tabs. See those? I'm assuming that's what holds it on. It looks like they line up with these, that one and that one. But this is in the way. So I'm gonna cut this out, try to get some room for the tab to fit in, and then see, yeah, I guess, see how this fits. Oh, this thing's a mess. I know it's going to come as a shock at this point, but it doesn't fit. No, it almost fits. I gotta pull this off. I gotta slot the holes because the bolts don't line up. It's kind of, sort of, almost same shape. Kind of. Like I said, these things are meant to be bud boggers. So, got it on there, but before we have a look at it, let's just take a moment and pat ourselves on the back for the fact that we actually managed to get this mess to look like this. Door opens and closes. Not bad. So that was the good news. Now for the bad news. This kind of fits. This has more of a crown to it than this does. So it's in here. It sticks out right there. It's in there. Corners kind of close. Tops, meh. And then down here, that's supposed to fit flat against the top of the rail there, but yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Now for the door, compared to the way it looked before, this looks amazing, but compared to the way this is supposed to look, it's garbage. This gap gets wider, wider, wider because the windshield's too tall. But have a look in here. See where it's catching? It's right there. If we trim that back, that'll lower the windshield down just a tiny little bit. But that's the next step, is just go around this thing and around and around and around. Get a little 1/16 of an inch everywhere we can and start closing in on it. So as far as the weather strips go, that door, it's clamped in the closed position. And if you look, if I can zoom in here, see that? Yeah. Right where the latch goes. I'm hoping they got that figured out so the latch actually works, but not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to take a break from this thing for a bit. Start working on the fenders. See how bad those are. Yeah, carry on. So, I know it's going to be hard to believe on this project, but doesn't fit. Holes don't line up. That's easy. That's just drill them out a couple sizes bigger, call it done. Now the fenders, I gotta knock down those welds because this wraps around the corner, the edge of the door there. So I gotta get that to fit. So then I know how much of this I gotta trim off, because this hits the firewall. So I'm hoping that's all I got to do to this, but yeah. So there we go. These fenders fit way better than I figured they would. Almost like the body's made to use these fenders. Yeah, there is no way you can run stock fenders with these bodies. Not a chance. But, yeah, not bad. Yeah, stock fenders up in here, there was big holes. There were like, it was just not gonna work. But yeah, he's look good. Yeah, looks good. So there it is. Lines up not too bad. Door's got to come up a bit. It's got to come up and it's got to come back a little bit. Kind of split the difference on the gaps. So yeah, if we bring this back, that'll help somewhat with the weather strips. And, yeah. Not bad. A lot of work to get to this point. Holy. Looks pretty good. That's about as far as I can go on this till I get the parts. And nobody's back from Mexico yet, so down to the fine tuning, and no point doing that with these old worn out hinges. So till I get the parts, that's about it. So the idea at this point was, instead of sitting around waiting for the parts to arrive, use the parts we got, stick this thing together, and just see what it is we're dealing with. And don't spend a whole lot of time doing it. So it's together. Nothing fits, nothing lines up, and we're about to find out why. So, we got parts, but we got a problem. They sent up a parts car, and I've been taking measurements and comparing that one to this thing, kind of see where this body's at, and it's not good. So there's our parts car, and what I'll do, I'll just show you some of the differences I found. Gonna compare the two, and I'll show you where we're at. You see how this goes? Top of the door, and then base of the windshield frame kicks down. That's 3/8 of an inch. And that gives room for the gasket and then the windshield frame to fit. And you can see what they did on this one. See how that is the same height as the top of the door? Yeah, that has to come down 3/8 of an inch. But there's more. So here's how they shape the base of the windshield frame. Goes across. See how that tapers off? It's all solid because there's a seal. Goes over top. That seals the windshield frame, keeps the water out. So you see what they did here? They just sliced it, folded this down, and there's nothing in there. Now, the problem we've got, here's the weather strip off the other one. Yeah, that's not going to work. There's a hole there from where they sliced it that extends out over the front. So there is no way that's going to work. So what we got to do, cut this off, cut it again, 3/8 of an inch lower, redo this, fill this in, get this where it should be, and that's just to get the windshield to fit. Because with this being too high, that caused our problems up there. But there's more. Like we haven't even started yet. So here's how the hinge pillar is shaped. That's how the fender mounts, right there. You can see how that kicks up and then it goes in. And then the weather strip and the door seals against that. That's how that works. So you see what they did here? There's the edge of the fender, but they just ran it straight in. There's no step out till you get to here. And the way the weather strip fits, it just barely touches that edge, and it's supposed to be like right in there. But as you can see, there's nothing. So on the door jamb, you can see how that goes, and the weather strip follows that line all the way along, and up the front you can see how it goes. Yeah, that's how that works. Now you look in here, something missing. You can see how the weather strip goes like that. That's the gap we were looking at. But the other one, this needs to come out all the way. This is 1/8 of an inch in too far, which for this situation is going to work good, because we can overlap a piece over top, kind of like that, and just make a piece, close this in all the way down, and then double this up all the way along, and then into here build this out all the way up. And then in here, not sure exactly, but I have to build this out, have it come in so we can close this off somehow, have a piece kind of come down and tie in. Not sure exactly how that's gonna work, but all I know right now is there's a whole chunk that's not there. So like I said, these bodies they're meant for if you're building a mud bogger or rock crawler or something. These bodies are perfect. But for a restoration, yeah, not so much. But we're not done yet. There's more. So the door fits nice and even with the fender. Nice and flush. And you look back here, fits pretty good, but have a look. No room for weather strip. That's where the weather strip goes, right there. So what they did, they brought the bottom of the door out so it'll work with their fenders, which screws up that top corner. But if you're building a buggy, it doesn't really matter. But we're not building a buggy. So what I did here, as a proof of concept, since I can't move the bottom hinge in, I brought the top one out. It's like 3/8 of an inch, which is a little overkill for the front, but it definitely helped back here. The door fits pretty good. You can actually close it now with the weather strips in. So that works pretty good. The door gap's a fairly consistent 1/4 of an inch all the way down. Along the bottom it's a little tighter, especially in the corners. Not too bad. I mean, the door can come up a little bit, but the problem we got is back here. This is way too big. But this, measuring the other one, this is 1/8 of an inch too high. So there's something going on here. So I spaced this out a little over 3/8 of an inch. To get this in that much, this is all going to get cut out and then plated over top because it's kind of structural because it's a door hinge. But we move that in, that screws up how the fender mounts, because the fender overlaps the rocker, which is why they moved this out in the first place. Show you what we got to do there. So what we'll have to do with the fender, take that line and just cut the fender so it fits in there and it ends up being flush with the rocker like the factory. But in here around the hinge I got to cut and recess a big chunk like that, because on the fenders they got this piece, so I got to cut out and recess a hole big enough for that, or remove that, or I don't know. All I know is it's going to be a whole pile of work to make this thing fit. Oh yeah, another thing. So here's where the battery goes, right here, and from the factory this drops down and the battery tray sits here, and then you got not a whole lot of room for the battery, but enough. But with this going straight across, this is 1 inch and a bit higher than stock, which means you've got just barely, like we're talking 1/4 of an inch clearance for the battery before it hits the hood. So yeah, I don't know what they want to do with that, but add it to the list. And for this thing, since it doesn't fit, it sits up, all that, and the way they built it, there is no way that it's going to seal all the way across with just 2 little bolts on each side. So what I was thinking, I've got this old back door off a tin top. I'll cut this one down. I think it's right around that body line. I'll cut that down, make a new rear panel. That way we can use the factory back window, factory weather strip, and I can build it so it seals all the way around. What I'm thinking, like the old Blazers and Broncos, just have a bolt every 6 or 8 inches all the way around. I can get Zuki Nation to cut those pieces out on their plasma table, and I'll just build a new one and then modify this to work. I gotta take this out anyway, so I can move this up, down, whatever, to get this gap to fit proper. So yeah, that'll solve that problem, but yeah. So here's the parts we got. The hood's nice and straight, no dents, but what it lacks in dents, it definitely makes up for in rust. It's usable. There's the driver's door. It's slightly better than what we got, but see how it cleans up. But at this point, I'm not too sure what's happening with this little project, because as you can see, she's not here no more. Out the door it went. I emailed the client, sent him a bunch of pictures, kind of explained what's going on, and haven't heard back yet. But it's looking like it's not going to get done. We're probably going to go a completely different way. But right now, I'm just waiting to find out. So, on to the Mustang. Got to pay the bills. So like I said, I emailed the client, sent them a whole pile of pictures, and a long-winded explanation of where we're at. And then I gave him a recommendation on which way I think would be the best way to go. So I explained to him what it would take to salvage that other body, all the work that would have to go into it, and then kind of a ballpark price, what it would cost. And then for a recommendation, I recommended that he not do any of it and find a stock body that's in really good shape. So here's my thinking. Zuki Nation goes down to the States and finds these things with original paint, original stripes, and zero rust. We talked about it, and we both agree that the client's going to end up with a better product in the end if we just find a nice rust-free body and go that way. So I finally heard back on this thing, and yeah, it's going a whole other direction. He's going to go with the stock body, which is good. He's going to end up with a way better product in the end. So this is done. That's it for the Aluma Sami. And I just found out today, Aqualoo Industries, as of December 2023, end of the year, the owner's retiring. That's it for them. He's packing it in. So they're not making these bodies anymore at all. Which will be good for this guy, because that means he'll have no problem selling this one. So yeah, it's kind of working out. So there may be a part 3 to this. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what Zuki Nation can find down in the States. I'm hoping they can find a long wheelbase. Nice. Doesn't need any body work. Doesn't need anything. But they're kind of rare and hard to find. So part 3 may be stretching a short wheelbase into a long wheelbase. We'll see how it goes.